Well, this season of Doctor Who certainly was one of the seasons of all times. It was a fine, but overall kind of uneven series with the episodes, and I'm going to talk about it today. First, I'm going to talk about some pros. Pro is the writing was pretty good. I do like the writing for the most part. I think it's better than it has been in the last one. That would be the 13th Doctor. I think the writing is better, which is good because you can only go up from there, anyways. And I think the Doctor, the companion, Shooty and Millie Gibson, I think have a lot of natural chemistry, and I actually really like all that. And the Doctor has a lot of youthful energy since it's one of our youngest, not our youngest, but probably one of our youngest. I'll have to check that later, but anyway. I think he has a lot of youthful energy. I like the kind of energy that he gives to it. And I like that he's not afraid to be a little silly. After 12 and 13, which were a lot more serious seasons, I do like the fact that RTD went a little more silly on this one, which, you know what? That's good. I'm really all for that kind of thing. And I think it makes a really good first impression here, and I just hope that they improve on this tone in the future, because I really do like this tone. Though, some of the mystical aspects, I don't think pay off well. And, by the way, let's talk about the cons. One of the cons of this is there's just not enough episodes. I think 8 or 9 episodes is not good enough for this season. I just don't think that it fully articulates how well these people get along, and the relationship between the companion and the Doctor I don't think is fleshed out up enough in 8 episodes. I think if they gave it a few more episodes, say 12 13, we don't need to go crazy, don't give it like 24 or something, we're not going to do that, but 12 13 I think it would have been much better, especially with the old 2-parter and formula. That doesn't give you much to breathe outside of those episodes, and yeah, I just don't think that's enough episodes for the companion of the Doctor to develop a big relationship. Another thing is that they never fight. I do like that, to a certain extent, all of the companions of the modern era have at least fought with the Doctor somewhat on something. These two, they get along pretty well, and I thought that at first the source of tension would have been the I'm not going to take you to see your mom. That might have been a good source of attention, but no, they never get mad or anything about that. I just think that's a missed opportunity to flesh them out, to get them to have a little bit of conflict. That wouldn't have been so bad, And the overall story with Sutek, it just didn't work out. The series, the story they wanted to tell the series, it just didn't work out, It could have been so much better, but in the end, it just didn't work out, which is really sad, especially when you're purposely building up to this. Like, the other ones, it wasn't so bad because they just gave some vague references. There was no Mr. Box at the end. They were just like, of the other RTD season, it was just like, whoosh. It was just like, oh, the ending is coming, there's some vague threads. But this one, they actually led up to it, which made it all overall even more disappointing. Now I'm going to rank all these episodes from worst to best. And none of these episodes are terrible. I would not rank these among the worst, but we're just going to have to deal with them here. Okay. And worst, we got Empire of Death, the season finale. What a letdown of a finale, I must say. It was just like, really? That's all? That's all you had for the ending? It just was a whole lot of nothing over... Just a whole lot of nothing. And it was very disappointing. It's technically not my least favorite, but it's definitely my most disappointing, which is why I put it last. The next one going up slightly is Space Babies. Space Babies, it's probably personally my least favorite of the season. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's what we would call like I could definitely see this being in season 2, just a typical, it's like, oh, there's a problem, and the doctor needs to figure it out with the companion and their space babies. It's just a typical RTD episode. It's fine. It's nothing special, nothing groundbreaking. It's just kind of I just think it's fine. And here we go. Most people probably get mad at me for this. And the next one up is Dot and Bubble. This is an episode that I think it's just fine. It's fine. It's fine. The whole episode, I think, has a interesting gimmick and a lot to say about society, but it's just kind of uninteresting. I'm just gonna be honest. I think most of it's just kind of interesting. I do like the concept of everybody living in the bubble so they don't recognize the real world as a metaphor for the online space. I get it. And the ending is actually really good, but I don't think the ending can save the episode. It's just kind of uneventful for the most part. The ending is really good, but I just don't think it saves the entire episode. So that's all I'm saying. Next, we have The Legend of Ruby Sunday. Now, this is a good episode, but just come with a caveat that repeat viewings, this will not be as good. This will not be as good as repeat viewings. This is not an episode you will be able to watch over and over and get the same enjoyment from. This is all leading up to that ending scene where we find out that Sutek is the main villain of the season. And it's just like, you're not going to be able to see that again and get the same kind of enjoyment out of. This is a one and done. You're probably never going to rewatch this episode because it's so reliant on a twist. Although seeing reactors react to it was very fun. Next, we're going to go with Rogue. I do like Rogue. It's a good episode. I like it. I like the overall concept of the aliens coming down and cosplaying as real life history. I really do like that. I think it's a cool episode. I like Rogue. I like that the Doctor has a romantic interest in Rogue, which I like. It's the first explicit same-sex romance with the Doctor. I gotta say explicit because previously it was only like a wink and nod to the camera, and before that it was a fan fiction that never went very far. Yeah. You hear me, 13 era people. That didn't go actually very far. But anyways, I do like that. The characters, I think, are pretty interesting. Rogue is basically Captain Jack, but without sex pest actors. So you know what? That's a win. I like it. I hope he comes back. Good episode. The villains they're fine, but the villains weren't the point of that episode. I do like the relationship between Rogue and the Doctor is good, and Millie does pretty well on her own. I like that. That was pretty cool. And her actually being good actually gets her in trouble. I actually really like that. A companion being competent actually gets her in trouble at the end. That's really cool. Really cool. Next up, we have 73 Yards. A very another kind of Black Mirror kind of episode. It's kind of like, it's a very hard to describe episode. You just need to watch it. Because it's an episode that doesn't give you a lot of questions. It doesn't give you a lot of answers, but also, that's kind of the point. That's all it is. It's kind of the point. It's just kind of meant to be mysterious, and I don't know. Maybe something happened, maybe it didn't. I don't know exactly what happened. But hey, we might find out later, who knows. But I liked it. I liked the tone, I liked the mood, it was all good. Okay, and at the best we have, of course, it's an episode written by Stephen Moffat, and it's Boom. I've said in the past, Stephen Moffat does a lot. He does his best stuff when he's working for RTD. I don't like a lot of his stuff in his own era. I think a lot of his stuff in his own era tends to be bloated and over the top. But this was good. This was nice. This was lean. It was a good kind of, you could call this a bottle episode because the Doctor is kind of in it a bit, but not all the time. It has a lot to say about religion and warfare. and about how the industrial complex keeps people fighting for basically no reason. It's a good episode. It's one of Moffat's best because he does his best work when he's under RTD. Now, what is my conclusion of this episode? Well, I think it's a fine season. It's not terrible. It definitely could have been worse, in my opinion. Could have been better, too. Ranking it in seasons, I think, for RTD specifically, I think it's not as good as 4 and 1. I'm not counting the specials. Specials are a totally different thing. It's not as good as Series 4 and 1. It's on par with Season 3, with Series 3, which I think Series 3 is pretty good. I think it's on par with Series 3 and better than Series 2. A lot of people see Series 2 with rose tinted glasses, and yeah, I'm just not really that big a fan of Series 2. I think it has a lot of big problems. And on a large scale, I think it's probably not as good as Season 5, but better than Season 6 and 7, Series 6 and 7. I don't like Series 6 and 7. I think Moffat goes too crazy with that. The Capaldi series, it's actually really hard to compare it to because it's just a totally different thing. It's just really hard to compare it with the Capaldi series. So I want to compare it with that one. As far as Chibnall, yeah, it's better than pretty much any of the Chibnall. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Chibnall. I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off about that, but I'm just not. Despite its revolutionary casting, it just kind of sucked. So, at least we're going in a positive direction. I like that. I think overall, Doctor Who this was a bit of a bump, but you know what? Overall, I think it's headed in a positive direction. And you know what? That's not bad. And I hope it gets better in the future, you know? That'd be great if it could just get better in the future. I think it will. I personally think it will. RTD needs to learn about the mistakes of this one and make the other one better. And let's see what the Christmas special told. I think it's going to be a good one. Because, of course, it's written by Stephen Moffat again, because, of course, it is. He says it's going to be the last thing he says about Doctor Who, but rule number 1, Stephen Moffat lies. So, you know, I trust Dad as far as I can throw him. So, yeah. I'll believe him when I see it. So, anyways, until the Christmas special, I probably will make one more thing about Doctor Who next week. It's going to be about how RTD doesn't really land endings well, with plenty of examples. So, anyways, that's it for today.